What's the weirdest school scandal you had to run away from? My wife and I got roped into joining the PTO at our daughter's elementary school, but we didn't know they were hosting their own freak-offs. The president, Sage, cornered us by the juice boxes and wouldn't let us leave until we signed up for the fundraising committee. She had this intense smile that never reached her eyes and kept touching my arm while explaining how important parent involvement was. The first few meetings were normal enough, just boring discussions about bake sales and car washes, but then Sage announced a mandatory PTO mixer at her family's cabin in the mountains. She said it would be a chance for all the core members to bond and plan the spring gala. My wife tried to get out of it by saying we didn't have a babysitter, but Sage's assistant Livia immediately offered to watch all the kids at her house. We were trapped. The cabin turned out to be a massive lodge that looked like it belonged in a ski resort magazine. Everything was made of dark wood and leather with animal heads mounted on every wall. There were already 10 other PTO couples there sipping wine from glasses the size of fish bowls. Everyone was dressed like they were going to a country club while we showed up in jeans and sneakers. Saji greeted us at the door wearing a silk dress that seemed inappropriate for a school function. She hugged us both for way too long, and her husband Brent squeezed my shoulder hard enough to hurt. They led us to the main room where the other couples were arranged on couches that probably cost more than our car. Everyone turned to stare at us with these weird synchronized smiles. The treasurer Zara patted the spot next to her on a leather love seat and insisted we sit down. Her husband Tom immediately started rubbing her shoulders while maintaining eye contact with my wife. The whole room had this strange energy, like everyone was waiting for something to happen. Brent kept refilling our wine glasses, even though we'd barely taken a sip, and Sage wouldn't stop talking about how close all the core families had become. Things got weirder when someone suggested we play icebreaker games to get to know each other better. But these weren't normal icebreakers like two truths and a lie. They wanted to play something called authentic connections, where you had to share your deepest fear while maintaining physical contact with another person. The secretary Linda demonstrated by holding hands with someone else's husband while talking about her fear of abandonment. My wife grabbed my knee under the table, and I knew she was thinking the same thing I was. These people were way too comfortable with each other. When it was our turn to participate, Saigi suggested I pair with Zara, while my wife went with Brent. We both politely declined, saying we preferred to stick together. The room went quiet, and everyone exchanged these knowing looks like we'd failed some kind of test. The evening kept escalating with increasingly bizarre activities. They wanted to do trust falls, but insisted on catching people in groups while whispering affirmations. Then someone brought out massage oils for a stress relief circle, where everyone was supposed to give shoulder rubs to the person in front of them. When we said we were good just watching, Livia actually asked if we had intimacy issues we needed to work through. The final straw came when Brent announced it was time for the hot tub. Everyone started stripping down to bathing suits they'd apparently brought for this school fundraising meeting. Sage mentioned they usually didn't wear suits at all, but were being considerate since it was our first time. Tom made a joke about how the chlorine levels were perfect for whatever might happen, and everyone laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. My wife stood up and said our babysitter just texted about an emergency. It was obviously a lie since we didn't even have our phones out, but I went along with it. We grabbed our coats and headed for the door while Sage followed us, insisting the night was just getting started. She actually tried to block the exit until Brent called her back, saying we clearly weren't ready for this level of community involvement. The drive home was silent for the first 20 minutes. Then my wife finally said what we were both thinking. Were they trying to recruit us for some kind of weird spouse swapping thing? I told her that's exactly what it felt like, and we agreed to quit the PTO immediately. Our daughter could survive without us selling wrapping paper for the school. 2 months later, the scandal broke when Linda's husband got caught at a clinic trying to get antibiotics for something he couldn't explain to his doctor. Turns out the entire PTO board had been passing around more than just fundraising responsibilities. The principal had to send out a carefully worded email about maintaining professional boundaries, and the entire board resigned in disgrace.